I'm going to record now. Right. So look at that, right? You little beauty. So annoying. Okay. So I think that's fine. Yes. So we have answered the questions. I'm going to put that away. So we're recording now. So what we've got is we've got these two tables. And how do we make those two tables in our HTML code? And so if you watch those 4 videos, you'll see how we got from nothing to this code here. Now at the top is the CSS. You probably shouldn't look at the CSS first because the CSS doesn't make any sense until you look at the body of the HTML. So the body starts here with the body tag, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong file. Here we go. Yeah, see my awesome cursor control. Yeah, so I was looking at the wrong file. Anyways, here's the one that we should be looking at. The tables there. So the body we start with the table exercise. If I look at the actual, it's here, is it? If I look at the Firefox window, because I'm using Firefox as my default. So when I double click on a HTML file, it opens in Firefox. And so what we're seeing is this thing here, right? So table exercise, table 1, that is our H1 bit of code there. Then we've got a table tag, and in there is the first table. So we got 2 tables. So the table 1 is just table 1, and then table 2 has an ID in the table tag, identifying it as table 2. Now I did that because that was kind of necessary. I thought at the time, it's not necessary. I could take that out now. Because I've replaced that with doing IDs in the TRs. So I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so table 2, we got table 1 and table 2. Table 2, we did put some IDs in the first 2 rows so that we could style them sort of differently from each other. So I'm making this, where my cursor is pointing at the moment, that's going to be a heading, and this is going to be a heading, but they're styled differently because this heading is big and italic, and this heading is not big. You'll also notice that this first heading is the same as this first heading. And so we can make that happen by identifying these rows as differently. So this row is going to be called, so the first row up here with the fresh fruits in it, the fresh fruits 1, then we're going to call that table row 1. And then table row 2 is going to be worked on the same way, and table 3 is going to be worked on differently. When I say worked on, that's a very imprecise word, but what I meant was it's going to be styled by the CSS. So table 1, TR1 and TR2, they are together and in the way that they are styled. So they will look the same. They're not together because they're in 2 different tables, but they will look the same. Whereas TR3 will look differently. And this is how they will look the same and differently. With the TR1 and TR2, they are italic. So that's there, and they're a bit bigger. With the TR3, it's big, but not as big, and it's not italic. And so that shows up here. So the big and italic, and the not quite as big and not italic. And by the way, these things will look differently depending on the size of the window that they're in, right? So when you make something like this on your computer, it might look a bit differently if you open it in a different window, because I haven't actually fixed the widths of those columns. We could, but how much do we want to fit into one lesson, right? Okay, so I got a chat. So, sir, there's a student want you to confirm to be in the lecture. I think that means you want me to let them in. So that would be good. Yeah, in the waiting room. Yeah, okay. So that would be Saba. Welcome, Saba. So how do we go about this? Right. So how did we make the tables? The table is made up of 3 kinds of things, right? So in between a table tag, this is the more complicated table, the table 2. It is more Sorry about this, my cursor. I hate this. I hate the mouse pad on my computer. That's why I have a mouse, which I left at work. So, sorry about that. But there are three types of tags that we've got there. We've got the table row tag, we got a table header tag, and we've got a table detail or table data or whatever you want to call it tag. So the table row tag, every row has to have a table row tag at the start and the end of it. Open with the table row tag, close with the table row tag. So all of these things, so we got some more people in the waiting room. Let's let them in. Sava just keeps trying to get in, not getting in, it seems. So that's our table row thing. More chat. Yes, table row, a TR, table heading, TH, and table detail, TD. Very good. So how do they work? Table headings are going to work the same as table details. THs work like TDs, but the difference is that they automatically bold things, and so you can tell it's a heading. Then TRs, for every row, the start of the row and the end of the row will be a TR. The TDs work for each cell. Each cell has to have a TD at the start and the end, or it could have a TH at the start of the end. So TH and TD are kind of interchangeable, but THs we use for the headings, and they automatically style it as being a bit heavier. So we've got that. So basically, when I look at a table, it's kind of repetitive. You know what I mean? One row seems the same as the other, right? It's just, we just change the data that's in it. So often what I will do is I'll copy one row to another row. And so, you know, count the number of rows, take one row and copy it, or copy the copy the TDs or whatever. And so that's kind of how I made this. When I did that, if you look at the videos, if you've got time to look at the other videos, you'll see how that happened and things didn't work quite perfectly. So let's look at this and see how we would go about making that table some more, right? So we've got these numbers that we sort of just fit in into the table details, table data, whatever you want to call it, 75.1 half and 56.09. So there's a 75.1 half. Now, when we put our data in, it has to be inside the tags, not between these two. It has to be after the tag like that and before the tag like that. That's where it fits. And so that's our 56.09 or something. And that when we, that little bit of data will end up in that cell. So each of these things will become a cell. And you can go through, and it's kind of hard for me to look at these and do them at the same time. So I'm just going to go down the side here with it. We got Microsoft. Then after Microsoft, if I see where this one's going to fit, it's going to be there. So it's going to be Cisco Systems. And then the one after Cisco Systems is going to be America Online. AOL, right? And it's annoying that coming up every time I do that. Quest Systems. Too much caffeine. That's why I'm getting annoyed. But I need caffeine because this is a time when I'm kind of tired in the afternoon, actually. So caffeine it is. Be annoyed. And so when I save that, you'll see that if I can get my browser up again. So there's no change until I actually refresh the browser. I got a student. So when I refresh the browser, you'll see that I've entered the data for this column of cells. And that's kind of how we do that. Now, I'm not going to go through and enter all the data for that, but you get the idea. You put the TDs and the TRs and the THs in, and then you fill the data. But I'm going to take you back to here now. This is actually a little bit more than you had to do for this exercise, I think. This stuff in here for the table, that probably, yeah, you probably do need that. If you're going to have the border, this is kind of an absolute minimum. So what we've done, what we're saying here is we're going to style using CSS every table, unless it's got some other special name for it, every table row. Oh, I'm sorry about this. Every table heading and every table dot or table heading, table detail. We're going to style them in this way. They're going to have a 1px solid black border. Now, if we didn't put this next command, border collapse, we would get a border with sort of double, like 2 parallel lines. And so to make it so that it's only one line, we do the border collapse. And then the padding, now I added the padding because when I did this, I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of ugly when the words were right up against the borders. And that's actually there. If you look at the way I've styled the page I've got, I think it's a little bit easier to read. So I've brought the words away from the borders. And how we do that is with padding. Padding just means that whatever's inside this element in the HTML page is going to be this far away from the border. In this case, it's 5. Now I could change that to a bigger number, and you'll see the effect. So if I save that, and we'll just do this just so that you can see the effect, because it makes it quite different, right? So now we've got 15, picks. That's a bit. And by the way, this is all by mistake. I'm not trying to do this. It's so annoying. That's the. So what I've done is I've closed the. Yeah, awesome. I hate this. Anyway, so back I go and open it again. I promise I'm not going to swear. I'm thinking about it, but I'm not. All right, so here it is. So if I change that again to back to a, and you kind of, for me, I do this kind of, I'll look at it and get it right. If you're a very good planner, you're going to write all these things down. If you've got a lot of experience building your websites, and you've been doing it frequently and recently, you'll have an idea how much margin and how much padding you need. And so you can just sort of go ahead and do it. But otherwise, you might have to look at it as you go. I have to look at it as I go. And so, yeah, this is what I decided would be a better sort of padding there. Bear with me. Yeah. Right. So that's working. That's what that was about. That is styling the table to look right. Now, these other things, these two bits here about the TR1 and the TR2, those are called IDs, and you'll see them show up here, right? And so the IDs allow us to style a particular part of whatever in a different way. And so we're able to make the top rows different than the other rows. And so that was what that is about. Something I should talk about, however, is in the TH tags here, we have this thing called call span. And in the first table, the call span is 2. And that's because the first row covers 2 columns. If you look at the second row, there's 2 columns, but the first row only has 1. How we achieve that is in the first row, we say call span 2. That makes it cover 2 columns. Now, in the second table, the first row actually covers 6 columns. And so how that's achieved is with in the first row, we put a command of call span 6. Now, I think that's enough of me talking about that now. So I think I'm going to